Good afternoon, Hurricanes. Today is Monday, February 21st, 2022. I'm Daniel Toll.
And I'm Ethan Gany. We start today with the White House response to the Ukraine invasion, COVID spreading among the royal family,
and how yoga is being used to heal veterans' mental health. Don't go away, because NewsBreak starts right now. We begin today with our reporter Paris Friefeld, an update on the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Paris, what's President Biden saying?
Thanks, guys. President Biden has agreed, quote, in principle to meet with Vladimir Putin if he does not further invade Ukraine. Biden proposes talks brokered by the French Prime Minister Macron trying to reach a ceasefire. But on Friday, President Biden told reporters that he is, quote, convinced that Russian President Vladimir Putin already made his decision to invade. And Vice President Harris agrees.
As the president has said, we believe that Putin has made his decision. Period.
But the orders aren't set in stone. Putin could still reverse them. The Biden administration gave warning. On Saturday, Vice President Kamala Harris says that Russia will have major consequences if they go through with this. She says to tell NATO and European allies that we stand with them. The U.S. Embassy in Moscow is issuing a security alert. This warns U.S. citizens in Russia to be careful by avoiding large crowds and having an evacuation plan. Biden urges U.S. citizens in Ukraine to evacuate last week. Now back to you guys.
Thanks, Paris. In news from across the pond, Buckingham Palace says Queen Elizabeth is in quarantine after testing positive for COVID-19. This comes on the heels of Prince Charles and daughter-in-law Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, testing positive for the virus earlier this month. Up until this point, Queen Elizabeth has gone the whole pandemic without contracting the virus, but the palace says she is in stable condition.
We'll be monitoring this closely. She is 95 years old, but at the moment the palace doesn't seem too concerned, according to their communications.
The Queen has been a staunch supporter of the vaccine, getting her first dose in early 2021 and even her booster shot. So the palace says as long as she's feeling up to it, she will continue with, quote, light duties at Windsor Castle, such as desk work during her isolation. While the UK currently has a mandatory 5-day quarantine for people who test positive, the British government says it is planning to lift that requirement later this week. There is no word yet on whether the Queen's positive test will have any effect on the time frame to do so.
And here at home, the FDA has announced that it may authorize a fourth COVID vaccine dose this fall. This comes as weekly cases continue to drop worldwide. Approving the fourth shot for the U.S. follows two other countries making the move first. Israel was the first country to roll out a fourth dose for people older than 60. Soon after, the Public Health Agency of Sweden recommended an additional dose, but for people older than 80. One FDA spokesperson says the U.S. will continue to analyze COVID-19 data before pursuing a second booster. The next step would be for the CDC to review that data and recommend the fourth dose to the public.
And finally, New York veterans are using an ancient wellness practice to say namaste to post-traumatic stress disorder thanks to the nonprofit organization, the Veterans Yoga. Yoga has been known as a way to heal both the mind and body for over 5,000 years, and veterans on Long Island are enjoying sharing deep breaths and stretches and learning new poses with their friends and fellow vets. Air Force vet Laverne Glover fell so in love with the benefits of yoga, she now teaches it to her fellow veterans.
To find value in all things and see beauty in the world where once before I only saw chaos.
The nonprofit organization offers veterans and their families 100 free classes to help ease their bodies and minds.
I mean, Ethan, isn't that incredible, serving our country and mastering yoga? I mean, I can't even do yoga.
It truly is. You know, I'm not flexible enough for yoga, which is a problem because I play hockey goalie. So that's all we have for this edition of NewsBreak. We will see you in the studio on Wednesday for our IGTV series.
Till then, have a great start to your week, Hurricanes.